Dobar dan. In today's episode, I will tell you about my top list, a list of Croatian towns in Dalmatia and where it's worth going for a vacation here. So without further ado, let's get started. This ranking is very personal and very individual. Here you'll find cities and small towns where I spent more or less time during my stay in Croatia. But I got to know these places well enough to share with you my own personal impressions. So today I'll talk about the beautiful beaches and promenade that Brela has to offer, about why Šibenik is so underrated, why it's worth having a broader perspective on towns like Makarska and Baška Voda. There's a lot to talk about it, whether Split and Dubrovnik, as two of the largest cities in Dalmatia, are actually suitable for a 1 or 2 week vacation, and whether they're even a good base for spending a holiday in Croatian coast. I will also present to you my individual secret related to Omiš and tell you a lesser known place, but definitely worth considering for a holiday in Croatia, the charming little town of Poljica. Today we'll also be wondering whether Podgora is boring and if Trogir is a one-trick destination. You'll also find memories from the charming town of Primošten, and we will touch a little bit of a bowl on the island Brač. At the very end, I'll tell you why this ranking, my personal list, includes only towns in Dalmatia. Because I still have some plans to explore more of the Croatian coast, and not just that. For now, I'm enjoying the beautiful weather, so stay with us. Please subscribe to my channel, because maybe the next video will be from Rome, Italy, where I'm going for a short vacation. Write a comment if it's a good idea. So let's get started. Now we're quickly moving on to the first town. But also keep in mind, these are my personal impressions, my individual opinions about these places. So some of you might take it personally because I might talk about some places in a slightly critical way. Try to think of my stories more as light suggestions, simply someone's opinion, someone's impressions, because of course everyone can have different experiences, different opinions. Some people might like Makarska, others might not. Some might enjoy Omiš, others won't. That's why you'll find out everything in this video. Let's start with the beautiful place that is Primošten. This little place with its fantastic peninsula, with a very charming old town, where it's truly worth spending at least. I think a weekend, but I also believe that even a week in Primošten absolutely won't get boring, especially since it's a great base for trips to other nearby towns. An amazing atmosphere. A few nice spots to eat for sure, although I only explored this town in just a few times. Primošten is truly charming and not too crowded even in the middle of the season. Despite appearances, Primošten, for such a tiny Adriatic pearl, is not so much besieged. Of course, there are a lot of people there, even outside the season, but it's still a very charming town that I absolutely fell in love with, and that's why Primošten is at the top of my list, I think, but I'm not sure exactly. It's maybe in the top 3 or top 5, but I think I'll do a summary at the end regarding all these towns. It's just really nice to explore the old town here, or rather the old little town, and basically the whole place. It has very beautiful beaches, although there aren't that many of them and they're not that big. The water has a very beautiful color, so thank you, Primošten. It absolutely holds a deep place in my heart and ranks very high on my list. Poljica, which I think is my biggest surprise in all of Croatia. When I began my Croatian adventure this year, I ended up in this town completely by chance. I was simply looking for accommodation, very close to Split, so I could get there relatively quickly. Greetings to Ivica. Ivica was a fantastic host at the place which I happened to find. It's a very small village with very beautiful beaches overlooking the island of Čiovo, if I'm not mistaken, so it's not one of those views that stretches endlessly to the horizon view. Just a heads up, there's literally 1 store and maybe 2 restaurants there. It's a very quiet and peaceful place, so if you don't like noise, if you just want to do nothing, and above all, you're not looking for any kind of social or party life, then Poljica is absolutely perfect to unwind. A fantastic choice. I personally spent 10 days there, 10 amazing days, and I made the most of that very peaceful place. When I arrived there at the beginning of July, my host said, "Well, you've come right in the middle of the season, there are a lot of people." Okay, so I went to the beach and it's been much worse in practically every other place. From the police. I always have trouble with that. It's very close to Trogir, so that's also a really nice base for trips if you want to go sightseeing, so I definitely recommend it. A very pleasant place. I think I'll go back there. Podgora? I have a bit of a dilemma with Podgora because in fact my Croatian adventure started there many years ago. I feel like Podgora is a place that strikes a balance between being a large resort like Makarska or Baška Voda and in between a small town like the previously mentioned Poljica. But honestly, I don't think it's a great option for young people who are really craving, parties, social life. There are a lot of nice restaurants there, very beautiful beaches and an amazing color of the water. In that regard, Podgora is phenomenal. When it comes to the experience of that turquoise Croatian water, I think Podgora is in the top 3. Also, of course, on the Makarska Riviera. But really, would I want to spend another week there? It depends. If I were looking for a more laid-back approach to spending a vacation, then absolutely. But I get the feeling that more and more people of a somewhat older age, or even older retirees, for example, or our parents' generation, tend to prefer places like Podgora. I think it's because it's not too socially or party-oriented. It's not a party destination, so if you're looking for peace and quiet and at the same time you don't like the tiniest towns possible, I think Podgora is a great choice. It's also a good base for exploring nearby towns or for a trip to Biokovo. Baška Voda. I'm very sorry to say this, but I absolutely do not recommend Baška Voda. But in the high season, outside of the season, it's definitely a beautiful town with very long and very nice beaches and stunningly colored water. There you have plenty of some, I don't know, social options. I assume also clubs and discos, although that's kind of outside my interests. Plenty of restaurants, so it's really a very, very nice place. And it has this cool seaside vibe, while at the same time, it's not as crowded in terms of what's going on there compared to Makarska. But well, I visited Baška Voda once previously, and it was just before the season, literally for a short while, and it was really nice. But when I was driving along the Jadranska, that is the coastal highway, and I saw from above what the beaches in that town looked like, people packed on top of each other, practically an anthill. Well, I thought to myself, no, I'd gladly go back there, but definitely not during the season. So if you're looking for a bit more peace and quiet, then a Baška Voda is definitely worth it. I recommend going there out of the peak season. The place is very beautiful, well maintained, very charming, and the views are stunning too. You can easily spend a week or two there. I'd definitely recommend it. Split. Oh, I'll try to keep it short. Split is a place where I've actually been living for several months now. And this city really grew on me over time, and only after a while did I come to really like this place. I can't imagine it, honestly, living anywhere else more long-term, more permanently, living anywhere else in Croatia. Of course, Split. Tourists often treat it as a one-day stop, just the old town and that's it, but believe me, Split has so much more to offer. It has the beautiful Marian Park and has something beautiful to offer. In fact, the beaches. People think that there are no nice beaches in Split, but in reality there are actually quite a lot of them. Maybe the color of the water isn't as beautiful here as it is on the Makarska Riviera, like in Podgora, Brela or Makarska, but honestly there's really a wide selection. And contrary to appearances, even in the middle of the season on the beaches, there are not as many people here as in typical resorts or in smaller towns. So I'll be honest, Split yes, but more for visiting. If you're coming for a week or two, I understand that Split probably won't be your first choice for a longer stay. But remember, if you're coming here or flying in without your own means of transportation, then Split is a really great hub from which you can easily reach many other places. So as a base for trips, especially if you're sightseeing without your own car, Split is definitely worth considering. Trogir, I sincerely apologize. I have some kind of issue with Trogir. It does, of course, have a very beautiful old town. The stone buildings are absolutely charming, but I personally have some kind of issue with this place. Maybe it's really about the fact that Trogir doesn't have a typical beach that's easily and quickly accessible. But I think there's something different about the atmosphere in this town. Of course, I really liked it. It's nice to take a walk there, but I definitely wouldn't stay there for a longer time. Trogir as a vacation spot seems to me to have so many tourists who, in such a small area, in such a limited space, are constantly coming and going. People are always wandering around, and no one really stays there for long. It gives you this feeling of, I don't know. Trogir personally exhausts me. I don't know how to explain it to you because overall it's a great place to visit and see once, but to actually stay there, I suspect I'd be exhausted after 2 or 3 days at most. So overall, yeah, it's nice, but would I stay there for a typical vacation? Well, I'm sorry, but I don't think so. Bol on the island of Brač. It's a town I visited lately for a weekend getaway, where I basically spent just one night, so I didn't really get to explore the city much. It basically came down to just 2 walks. There is, of course, the famous beach from the brochures, Zlatni Rat, where I was hit by an unexpected wave of water. Maybe I'll tell you about it in the vlog from the island of Brač. I don't think it's an island that differs much from the mainland part of Croatia. So when it comes to islands, I think it's certainly a nice option. But from what I know, Var and Korčula are much more popular for longer stays. I also hope I'll still have the chance to visit those places during my permanent stay in Croatia. As for Bol itself, it's a really nice town overall. I think you can easily stay there for a longer period and just enjoy it. You can soak up a lot of great relaxing energy there, whether for a week or 2-week stay. I just have very fond memories of that place and the adventure I experienced there. I honestly have nothing bad to say about it. So many great memories. I think, in general, the Croatian islands are a place really worth spending time in. Definitely. But to be honest, I'm still getting the most out of the mainland part. From Bol, we move on in a rather unusual way to Šibenik, which I think is a very underrated town where people mostly stop just in transit, just to pass through. Through what, you ask? The old town mostly, although it's hard to call it a typical old town. For me, Šibenik has a vibe that's 10 times cooler than Trogir. Sorry, Trogir fans, but honestly, Šibenik made a really great impression on me. I visited Šibenik for the first time when I was heading to Croatia, supposedly for 5 weeks, but as you can see, I ended up staying longer. And I only got a brief taste of it with a 30-minute walk, and that was it. But I recently returned to Šibenik, Sorry, there's no episode from that visit, but I was there, so to speak, more privately. But I had the chance to experience the town a little bit more so, and already outside of the tourist season since it was mid-October, so I also got a different perspective. I really liked Šibenik, and even though I don't think there's a typical beach there as far as I know, there's just this atmosphere, this really nice vibe in the little streets where honestly, well, I liked it much more than Trogir. A really nice and I feel underrated place. And generally in travel guides, it shows up as a place worth visiting just for a day, for a few hours. And of course, you'll walk around the whole town, or rather most of it. But I think that if I were to consider a place for a longer vacation, then yes, I think Šibenik would be an interesting option as a base. And now we're smoothly moving on to Makarska, and I'm really sorry. Hold on tight, fans of Makarska. I myself am a huge fan of Makarska. My adventure with Croatia right now actually began in Makarska. And that's what made me stay in this place. I love Makarska. Makarska is an absolutely beautiful, wonderful, and very atmospheric place outside of the tourist season. Sorry, but I've simply been there. I think I've been there maybe 2 or 3 times in the middle of the season. And honestly, the number of people, the sheer number of people, you know, tons of people, just tons. Also, wow, tons of people. In Makarska, it's just people on top of people. And honestly, I had the feeling that I was in some kind of, I don't know, Polish colony, because 90% of the language I heard in Makarska in the middle of the season was Polish. And then there was also some Czech just mixed in with Polish. It's actually really, really funny. A mix in perception, but it's an incredibly crowded place, although overall Makarska as a base for trips outside of the season. In spring, in May, at the beginning of June, in the second half of September and October is an absolutely beautiful place. The beaches in Makarska themselves are wonderful. The Nugal beach, a little past Makarska, is amazing, and the beaches in the other direction from Nugal, from that beach as well, are absolutely beautiful, especially when you head in the direction of Split. The promenade itself, the restaurants, the overall atmosphere, it's definitely a place friendly to those who enjoy clubbing and party vibes. So for the younger, so to speak, audience of Croatia, Makarska will always be in my heart, probably in the top 3. I was in Dubrovnik for just one night, literally for sightseeing purposes, when I first started exploring Croatia in the beginning. Dubrovnik is a very nice city, very beautiful, with an old town. And overall, the place itself has something a bit different, has a little bit of that, a different and cool vibe. I definitely wouldn't stay there longer because it's not a good base for exploring the rest of Croatia and Dalmatia, since it's really far, far down south, and even getting from Split to Dubrovnik takes, oh god, I don't remember, probably around 3 hours. The road itself is very beautiful, but around Dubrovnik there are towns that are a bit more less touristy and less flashy in terms of how they come across. At least that's the impression I got, but I didn't really go that deep or stay that long, so to speak. I didn't really explore those areas. However, when it comes to the views and the overall atmosphere, Dubrovnik is absolutely stunning, but I think it's more of a 1 or 2 day city at most, not really a place to stay for a week or 2. This is going to be a bit of a spoiler, although we're nearing the end of the list, but I'll be honest with you, Brela is probably my number 1. And if I had to choose a place to go on vacation for a week or 2, or ideally even longer, I would choose Brela. An absolutely beautifully located town with a very nice, starry layout, typical of many places in Croatia, where even being in the 3rd row from the shore is still great. Having a place with a terrace and a sea view, which I personally experienced, God, it's absolutely wonderful. Beautiful water, everything looks lovely, stunning beaches. It's a great option both for active sightseeing and for more laid-back relaxation for walks somewhere inland. I'm totally in love with Brela, and it's a place I will definitely remember very fondly. And I'd love to stay there much longer than just an extended weekend, because that's exactly what I planned for myself in Brela lately, and it was truly beautiful. You can even take a walk nearby close to the Baška Voda if you want, because it's absolutely doable. It's really, really lovely, but there's one problem with Brela. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's like this every year, but this year there were an awful lot of wasps. And they were so aggressive that you couldn't eat anything outside or go to a restaurant in peace because there were wasps everywhere all the time. I don't know what the reason is, but that's really how it was. But really, there's hardly anything else to complain about. It's a beautiful place. I highly, highly recommend it. Even in the middle of the season when it's crowded, you know, I think I could actually put up with crowds of people like ants, because that's how nice it is in Brela. I left Omiš for the very end, simply because I know there are a lot of fans of Omiš. I'm really sorry, but it's another place where I just don't feel the vibe. I don't understand the appeal of this place. As a place itself, when it comes to the central part of the town, it's nice to walk through those few little streets, and it's very pretty. The canyon, the Cetina River. Another thing I don't understand about Omiš is the fact that so many people, mostly Poles, love the main beach here. Some people say it's one of the nicest beaches in all of Croatia. Really? I was at that beach and I just don't get it at all. It's artificial, made up of some kind of fake sand. It's just ugly, but with a nice view on the shore. Omiš in general has this kind of unique atmosphere, and it's definitely worth a visit. It's a place for literally one day, just a few hours, and there are plenty of attractions around too, like rafting on the Cetina River, some crazy zip lines, but to actually stay there? No, Omiš is somewhere at the bottom of my top list, which I invite you to check out. Somewhere here on the right, I think I've already put together a list of my favorite places. And of course, it's a very personal list, so don't take it as a guide. It's not one of those typical recommendations about where it's worth going and where it's not. These are just my opinions about these places. And for example, Split, I suspect it's somewhere in the middle, but not because I don't recommend the place. I mean, I live here, right? So obviously I like it here. This really is a personal list, and it all depends on what your needs are and what you expect from your vacation. Your list might look completely different. I just wanted to share my impressions with you today after this long stay of mine in Croatia, so I hope you enjoyed it. And as for my plans, why it's only Dalmatia here, I wanted to add that I also plan to visit the Pelješac Peninsula and do a bit of exploring there. I'd like to stay there for a week, and maybe from there I'll also visit the island of Korčula. As for the islands, I'd also like to visit Hvar and stay there a bit longer. And finally, sometime in the summer, I'll make my way to Istria, which I haven't visited yet either. Well, Croatia is so diverse that for now I'm making the most of Dalmatia alone, which is charming. By the way, thank you so much, because after the last video I had a huge boost in views on my video where I summarized 6 months in Croatia and talked about various things. I was absolutely surprised and also very grateful for this significant increase as well of subscribers. That's why I'm glad that many of you decided to stay, and I hope you feel comfortable on this channel. I'll do my best to bring you new content as often as possible. In the meantime, I invite you to watch the next episode right now. For now, I'm still in Croatia, but very soon I'll be starting my 1-week vacation in Rome, Italy. So there will be a little twist on the channel, but it will be Italy. Just as much beautiful. And some kind of waves has started. Time to run.